Welcome everybody to a very special episode on my channel where I attempted to spend 100 days in Terraria's hardest difficulty on the hardest seed, For the Worthy Master Mode. If you don't know what the For the Worthy seed is in Terraria, it is essentially an even harder version of the game, where regular mobs are stronger, bosses are tougher, interactables in the world are changed, and more. If you haven't seen my first 100 days video where I spent 100 days in Terraria's normal mode, then I suggest that you check that out before watching this video, so that way you have a comparison as to how things went down. For starters, there are a lot of changes to the For the Worthy version of Terraria, and when I went into this challenge, I did not know about any of them. I wanted to experience it blind, also on Master Mode, to really challenge my Terraria skills and knowledge. The only rule that I have established for myself on this playthrough was that I was not allowed to change worlds. I had to spend all 100 days in the world that I initially spawned in. This video took me nearly 40 hours of gameplay time and about another 10 or so to plan and edit out. That being said, it took a lot of work to make this film for you all, so I'd greatly appreciate it if you dropped a like on the video, shared it with your friends. If you are really feeling generous, why not subscribe to the channel as well? Without further ado, let's get into the story of how I spent 100 days in Terraria's For the Worthy Master Mode. Contrary to popular belief, my first thought on day one when getting into this new playthrough was not to get wood immediately, but instead to start by mining the ores directly under me and creating an underground base to hide from mobs. I knew that the mobs of this playthrough were going to be much stronger defense and attack-wise, so I wanted shelter right away. In doing so, I dug out the first bits of my base and was already faced with a few invaders in the form of slime. After chopping them up, I began to explore the overworld, collecting wood, mushrooms, pumpkins, and any chests or pots that I found along the way. I first started with the left side of my world, where I very quickly found out that bombs can drop from smashed pots in this version of the game. Bombs are active! I did not know that. No, it's blowing up everything. Well, there's another bomb! I almost died! Holy crap! I did not know that. After only a few minutes into the world, I already had my first death due to some slimes that beat down on me in the darkness of a cave. Upon spawning, I placed some sunflowers around that I had previously collected because they reduced monster spawns and increased movement speed, which would be vital for traveling the terrain quickly. Using the ores and woods I had been collecting, I made my first full set of mixed armor with wood and iron. I also knew that potions would play a big role in this run, so I started making pots for plants on the first day as well. Beginning my base, I wanted access to the underground so that I could collect precious ores, and so I started with my very first elevator of the run. Unfortunately, I was met with my demise as well. I'll just let you see what happened. What the? He can get? How'd he get in? He just spawned above me? Nearing the end of day one, I found my first red potion. These are exclusive to For the Worthy worlds, and I was not sure what they would do, so I was not going to consume it yet. At this point, I had already been beaten down by slimes and zombies, and ran away from bombs coming out of the pots and trees that I chopped down. I figured that this potion, especially with its description, that if I took it I wouldn't meet the requirements for being worthy, and it would kill me or give me some sort of curse, and that's why I was wary of it. Red potion, only for those who are worthy. I don't know if I can trust that. On day 2, I continued with my early game progression by making better gear in the form of tungsten tools and iron armor. I ventured out to the right side of my world, getting destroyed by an angry vulture, and learning that the Crimson biome was close on the right side of my world. So, I decided to go back to the left side, and here I found the dungeon in an exuberant purple color. I decided to go back to mining for better gear, and collected topaz for a topaz hook, which would be very important for my mobility as I could traverse the world more quickly and escape danger more readily if need be. During my underground excavation, I realized something else about this For the Worthy seed. There were a frequent amount of ore veins that were larger than usual. I mean, these things were massive. It made early game progression go by pretty fast in terms of creating armor and tools because of how much ore I could collect at a rapid pace. It was a good thing too because these mobs were tough, so I was willing to take any extra defense and attack stats that I could get. I found 2 life crystals on this day, which of course are also hugely important since so many enemies could kill me in 1 to 2 hits with my current HP, although I'll eventually find out that even later on I can still die in just as many hits. Day 3, I began adding extra protection around my base in the form of lava pits. These mobs had so much HP, and so having lava pits to do the killing for me was quicker, safer, and allowed me to easily collect money and items. I was really happy to have had made this because it paid off time and again, as I would go on to find out. I was in the midst of battle when I accidentally found out why you shouldn't toy with dynamite. Oh my god, I just killed myself. I had another radius was that big. Days 4 and 5 were spent mining and crafting better gear. Since I was filming this playthrough during the month of October and early November, pumpkins were spawning all over the world, which made for a really easy source of buffs. I turned the pumpkins into pumpkin pies, which boosted several of my stats for a good several minutes that I could use over and over again. I found out that the ghosts of Halloween are in Terraria too, and not in the way I would have wanted. Dude, a ghost! He came through the wall and 2-hit me. There was no way I was gonna kill that thing. I was trapped and he literally came through darkness. During these days, I found the jungle on the right side of my world, but that was already known since the ice biome was on the left side of my world. Also, I began constructing homes for NPCs so that way I could start buying and selling goods. I began making a boss arena above my base where I would go on to fight several bosses in the future. On day 5, I used a gravity potion to explore the floating islands, thinking I would be able to get easy accessories and a Star Fury. As I am soaring through the sky and I find my first floating island, it is a sky lake. Fortunately, or maybe not so fortunately, I found more floating islands with chests on them. But wait a minute, these chests don't look right. They're locked with keys, I didn't know that. Yeah, so apparently the chests on floating islands needed golden keys from the dungeon to be opened, so I definitely wasn't going to be opening any of those anytime soon. That stunk because my first method of getting some easy gear was out the door. Since I didn't know anything about the seed, that was a surprising find, but also made me wonder if that meant that dungeon loot would be in those chests since they required dungeon keys to be opened. To finish day 5, I started exploring the edges of the underground desert in hopes of finding a Bast statue in a chest on the edge. This biome is extremely hard to traverse really at any point in the game because of how strong the mobs are and the rolling spike balls that deal huge amounts of damage. Unfortunately, I didn't find any Bast statues close by. Come day 6, it was the same as the days prior. I mined, died a few times, crafted better potions, and found my boy, the Golfer. I still have yet to ever use him or his mechanics, but maybe one day I will. We'll just have to wait and see. It's lucky day number 7, and when you have it, I've managed to put together a full set of golden armor, making myself feel pretty good when it comes to an armor level to fight bosses. I prepared my potions and arena for what would go down as the first boss fight in my journey through Terraria's further-worthy Master Mode. I collected my Eye of Cthulhu spawner and brewed potions, headed up to my arena, bow in hand, and summoned the Soaring Eyeball for what was surely going to be a fight to the death for one of us. Alright. Pop those buffs. Come on, baby. Oh, God. Please don't do as much damage as I thought they would. Damn. Okay, going up doesn't seem to be an option. It's not in that position. I mean, really, it's fine. HP's fine. There's so many servants. That's why I have the grenades, I guess, right? But I know he's gonna go crazy mode soon. Oh, I could have used the printing bow. Whatever. It's too late. Oh, this is gonna end bad. And he's transforming now? Oh no, I need more arrows, I have what I need to make arrows. Let's throw a few workbenches down. I might die for that, but I need it. Tell you what, though, this really makes it feel like a boss fight when it takes actually the entire night instead of like 10 seconds. He's flying everywhere. I can't hit him. It's so fast. Oh gosh. There we go. Nice. That's what we like to see. What do we get? What do we get? Shield of Cthulhu. Would you look at that? My very first attempt at a boss in this world was a success. I really was not expecting the fight to go down that way, but ultimately I can't be mad about it. In fact, that fight should have gone even better than it did, but I forgot that I could have upgraded my bow to the tendon bow beforehand, so I was a little undergeared. Nonetheless, the job was done, my first boss was down, my feet were wet, and I was feeling confident that I could take on the Brain of Cthulhu next. The next day, I explored the underground Crimson for the first time, smashing a few Crimson Hearts along the way to see if I could get some lucky drops. I was looking for guns to get the arms dealer, a Crimson Rod, and a Crimson Heart to follow me around. I was able to get guns so that way the arms dealer could move in. I began making an underground arena for the Brain as I have done on every single other playthrough I've had the privilege of doing. Quickly went back home, prepared my potions and materials for the big fight, and then made my way back to the Crimson Biome to summon the Eye of Cthulhu's dear friend, the Brain of Cthulhu. Why would it spawn right here? Bro, that's so unfair! After such a crushing loss where it appeared as if I had no shot of winning, I thought that meant I should go fight Skeletron first, so that way I could obtain a Cobalt Shield. The shield would allow me to not get knocked back by the Brain's flying friends, which would help me survive the fight. Come day 9, and I was building an arena on the other side of the world for my boy Skeletron. I smashed some more Crimson Hearts near the arena on that side, and got the Crimson Heart that follows me around and shines light, so that was a +2. On day 10, I searched the underground for a viable place to create an item and money farm. I scouted this out because I knew that I was going to need a lot of money to reforge items and have a place to farm hard mode items in the future. During this process, the arms dealer arrived and I bought myself a mini shark. If you watched my first 100 days video where I was in normal mode, you would know that the mini shark was godsend because that thing carried me to hard mode. I was hoping for the same thing this time around. With my new gun in hand, I prepared my potions for a fight with Skeletron later that night. I had everything I needed and I made my way to the dungeon to attempt to release the Clothier's curse, hopefully on the first try just like I did when I triumphed over the Eye of Cthulhu. In a matter of minutes, nighttime fell, and it was now the hour with which I would summon the rotating Skull of Doom, Skeletron. Let's do it, baby! What do you got for me? A zombie hit me, bro! I got schemed off the bat! Ooh, I might have made these pop a little too far apart. Honestly, I'm dead. Zombie, get out of here, you're gonna kill me. Dude, he looks bigger than usual, man. He's got like 14k HP. Wow. I was definitely not ready for that. Skeletron looked much bigger than I remembered him being in past playthroughs, and I suppose that was one of the changes they did to this For the Worthy seed. I sat for a bit to contemplate what I could possibly do to better my chances of success against Skeletron and the Brain of Cthulhu. Both fights I got absolutely mopped, so I was really needing to think outside the box as to what I could do better. First and foremost, the most evident upgrade I could give myself would be in the form of Spectre Boots and reforged accessories, so I was going to need to find the Goblin Tinker NPC. In order to do that, I first had to win a fight against the Goblin Army. On day 11, I went to the edges of my world trying to find Goblin Scouts that I could kill for tattered cloth to make a Goblin Army spawner. I explored the depths of both ocean biomes and found pretty interesting terrain generation underwater. I had never seen ocean biomes generate in this manner, so maybe that was also due to the seed I was playing on, but I was not sure. Either way, I was down for it. It just so happened that while I was searching for Goblin Scouts, I got notified of a Goblin army approaching. That was a relief because I could stop searching for the Scouts and prepare for the invasion that was about to approach my base. The dawn of day 12 hits, and the Goblin army has finally arrived to wreak havoc on my home. Fortunately for me, I was already prepared for this in the form of lava pits. These pits came in clutch as they sped the process of this invasion up a ton. Without those lava pits, I'm pretty sure I would have died several times and then spent the whole day fighting for control of my base. After making relatively easy work of the Goblin army, I made more NPC housing, particularly for the Goblin Tinkerer NPC. Now that the army was defeated, all I had to do was search the underground for him. Shortly after diving into the depths below the surface, I found my friend Zahn. Together we made an exchange with my coins for his rocket boots and Tinkerer table. I then used the rocket boots and paired with my Hermes boots to craft Spectre boots. From there, I spent my leftover funds on reforging my accessories. I was trying to get defense buffs on all of them, so that way I could increase my survivability. Then, I fought the Eye of Cthulhu for more money because the Crimtane ore and other items dropped from the boss netted a high amount of gold for this point in the game. I was ideally trying to get an additional 3 to 4 defense added to each accessory. If I was using 6 accessories all with warding, then I would gain 24 defense points, which would basically double my previous amount. Day 13 was an important day because I continued my search for the Bast statue. It was important that I found this item in the underground desert because when it is placed and the player is near it, they gain an additional 5 defense, which will of course come in handy for any boss fight. Shortly after looking, I managed to find myself one. This was great because it was still relatively early in the playthrough, and I did not want to be in the underground desert any longer. For days 14 through 18, I spent nearly all of that time in the underground creating the item and money farm that I was talking about earlier. I went to the spot I had previously scouted to be a good location and began my construction plans. I mined a set amount of blocks to the east, west, north, and south. Essentially, I mined out a huge rectangular box from the center point. This way I could know exactly where the mobs would spawn. I made a long platform through the center horizontally that would act as a spawning platform for the mobs. I placed walls all down below this platform because mobs cannot spawn on player-placed walls, so that way I wouldn't have to worry about any enemies being down there. I created a pyramidal shape on the platform that would serve as another lava pit for the enemies to fall into, and that way I could collect items and money whilst being AFK. Day 18, after I finished doing most of what I needed to do for the item farm, I kept reforging my accessories, added the Bast statue to my Skeletron arena, and made a home for the Dryad NPC at the arena as well. The reason I put the Dryad in the arena is because when you are near her while she does the spinning of the leaves, you gain a buff which is called Dryad's Blessing, which greatly increases life regeneration and defense so long as she is alive and you are within her radius. This night, I took another crack at Skeletron with my newly reforged gear and added benefits to my arena. Come on, baby. Yo, I'm dead, I'm dead. No! Unfortunately, just like the past few battles I've had, I took another L. On day 19, I was left again wondering what I could possibly do to better my odds of survival and victory against Skeletron or the Brain of Cthulhu. Defeating either of them would give me access to better gear to kill the other. It didn't matter which I killed first, or so I thought, so I was really wondering about upgrades on both fronts. One such thought that I had for the Skeletron fight was to incorporate a minecart system that would allow me to kite Skeletron without being hit. This proved to be more challenging than I thought because I had never done this before, so I did not know how to use minecarts to create such a thing, if it was even possible. Up until this point in my Terraria journey, since minecarts were released years ago, I have never actually built anything with them. Thus, I just quickly scrapped this idea. That night, I still made it a point to fight the Brain of Cthulhu. I was under the impression that the only way to advance the game was to kill either of these two. I summoned the Brain for what I hoped to be a victory or learning experience that I could use for future fights. I can't even kill any of them. Darn, bro. Well, I died again, and pretty easily at that. At this point, I thought the arena for the Brain was simply too small. I did not have enough room to dodge his flying friends and his giant, well, brain, so I began by essentially doubling the size of the arena by adding more room vertically and horizontally. On day 20, I fought the Brain again and actually did make some progress. I was not able to get too much further from before, but I was able to get far enough to the point where I killed a few of the creepers. This was a big milestone because I previously had not done that, and I actually forgot that when you kill the creepers, they drop tissue samples. These tissue samples could then be used to upgrade my armor and tools into Crimson tools, that I could then use to mine and craft Hellstone armor and tools. With this new information in mind, I made Crimson armor and a Crimson pickaxe, then made my way down to the underworld for the first time to start mining Hellstone. On day 21, I mined Hellstone safely from the confines of the buildings in the underworld, as well as with obsidian skin potions. I grabbed myself a Hellforge, went back to the surface, and crafted a set of molten armor, a molten pickaxe, fiery greatsword, and an imp staff. When I was comparing the two sets of armor, that being Crimson and Molten, I actually decided that in this playthrough it seemed better to use full Crimson armor despite it having a lower defense value. The reason for this was because a full set of Crimson armor added increased damage to all damage types that I used and increased life regeneration. whereas the full set of Molten Armor added only a bit more defense and damage buffs strictly for melee builds, which I was not going to be using for either boss battle. Since the bosses were so tough, it didn't really matter if I had a few extra defense points, because I was still going to die in 1 to 3 hits anyways. I deemed the extra damage and life regeneration to be more beneficial this time around. Day 22, I built some more houses and fought the Brain of Cthulhu several more times, each time dying like the last, but making a bit more progress and figuring out how to maneuver around the arena to dodge hits. One of the biggest problems in fighting the Brain underground was the random mobs that would get in the way, particularly the slime. There were so many slimes that would spawn, and I would accidentally hit one, which would kill me or hurt me and stop my health regen, as well as my movement speed. I thought, okay, well I made some progress there, but I wonder what kind of progress I could make with Skeletron now, so I went to the dungeon, summoned the skull, and began another battle. Dude, did one of his hands despawn? Oh, okay, I thought it despawned. I was like, what the heck? Again, I got wiped. I was dealing next to no damage with the mini shark. In past playthroughs, this thing was a beast, and I always used it to fight Skeletron, but this time around, it just was not working. I was not sure what to do, honestly, to give myself a better chance of winning. On day 23, I went to explore the underground jungle, seeing if I could find any better loot there. I didn't. I went to the Crimson biome, smashed a Crimson Heart, and did get something better here. I got a Panic Necklace. That necklace grants increased movement speed for a few seconds after being hit, which proved to be useful in the boss arenas. Oh, also, I fought Skelly and the Brain again. Yeah, I died both times. It's now day 24 and I have another idea. The Red Potion. Up until this point, I had been scared to use it for fear of negative effects. I decided, you know what, if something bad happens, then oh well. But I'm not sure what else to do at this point, so this will have to suffice. I prepared myself for another battle with Skeletron, this time with a red potion in my inventory. Let's see what happens. Down, 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 down. 20 seconds till a potion. I'm probably dead here. Damn it, bro! I died again! Let's go! Except not really. This was getting really old really quick. I found out that the red potion was actually really good to use though, because it provided 30-minute long buffs, some of which I did not have access to, like the Wrath potion. Alright, so it's day 25, I'm a quarter of the way into this playthrough, and so far the only thing I have done, boss-wise, was kill the Eye of Cthulhu. I was feeling annoyed at how long and how hard this was. Granted, I should have expected it would be something like this, although for my last playthrough of the game, which was on normal mode, you can hopefully see why I was having some trouble adjusting to the large gap in difficulty here. On this day, I died to the Brain again, no surprise there. Then I took my heart statue that I had found underground and wired it up at my Skeletron arena. Just outside of the dungeon, there was a light fixture that was connected to a switch. I got rid of the light and put my heart statue where the light was, because then I could flip the switch a few times and spawn in some extra life hearts that I could pick up mid-battle if I needed them while my healing potion was on cooldown. So despite all of my deaths, I was learning new things and adding extra benefits to myself or to my arenas with each day that passed by. So apparently, there was more that I could do, but I was really exhausting my whole list of ideas here. Now, with the new addition to the statue, I took my chances again with Skeletron. And I just took fall damage. And another zombie, bro! It's always these zombies! Would you look at that? Just like at my Brain of Cthulhu arena, there are mobs at this arena too that got in the darn way. Man, I was getting tired of it. Fast forward a short bit to day 27, and you'll see that I made what would turn out to be a huge change. I moved my Brain of Cthulhu arena from the underground to the overworld. I did this to give myself more space to move around and have less mobs in my way. With this new arena setup, I set out to fight the Brain one more time. Oh, I'm gonna die again, though. I couldn't tell which one it was. Well, would you look at that? The new arena proved to be worth it. I had gotten the furthest I had been so far in terms of killing the boss. This fight reinvigorated my spirits when it comes to powering through the stress of dying over and over and over and over again. Over the next couple of days, I would experiment several times with fighting the Brain, losing each time but learning something along the way. Come day 29, I had fought the Brain probably near on 20 times, and I was ready to kill this thing. I had all my potions ready, my bows and arrows in hand, my mini shark locked and loaded, my arena set up for life regeneration and defense, and my minimap activated for helping me in stage 2. It was about time I put this boss to rest. Come on. Come on, baby. Come on. Oh, if I died with 8, he had 8 HP, bro. I was 1 hit, he was 1 hit. Oh, I would have raged so hard, bro. I'm not even celebrating. I'm just glad I didn't die. Oh my gosh, that took so many tries. Let's go. And I don't have to fight you again for ages. Thank the heavens. Oh my gobbity goosh. Wow. Finally! After countless fights and hours of stress, I triumphed over the Brain of Cthulhu. Let me tell ya, that felt good. I had a rush of dopamine go through my body when that happened. It was such a relief. Killing the Brain meant that I got access to the Brain of Confusion, which would be a vital part of my future boss fights. This accessory was such a huge benefit to my loadout because it gave me a 1 in 6 chance of dodging an attack. That could amount to be maybe 1, or maybe several attacks over the course of a boss fight with somebody like, I don't know, say Skeletron, which could be in turn the reason I win the battle. A few minutes after my victory, I was notified that a meteorite had just landed. I searched the world for it and found it just to the left of my dungeon. I mined up most of the ore and took it back to my base for inspection. On day 30, I used the ore I had just mined to craft myself a star cannon. This weapon has been in the game for ages and I have never used it once that I can recall. Knowing that my mini shark did no damage to Skeletron, I thought maybe this new weapon could be the answer to my problems. I spent the night scrounging the overworld in search of fallen stars that I would use as ammunition for my star cannon. My plan from here on out was to spend the daytime making farms and arenas that I would use in hard mode, and then spend the night searching for fallen stars until I had what I deemed to be a sufficient amount to fight Skeletron. So, days 32 and 33 were spent in the underground jungle mining out the area so that way I could create platforms that would grow bushes that I could use to harvest bait as well as life fruits later on in hard mode. During the night of day 32, I took my chances with Skeletron again, using the stars I collected from every night thus far. Since I had no mana stars, I had collected a solid 200 to 300 that I would use in the fight. I want to conserve the last stars that I have. That's dead, that's not good for me. I'm dead right there! Well, that didn't go as planned. I could see from the fight that the strategy to use a star cannon was definitely the way to go. I had gotten further in that fight this time around than any other time thus far. The major downside to losing, however, was that I now had to collect all the stars I just used again. This was very sad because I was only collecting around 20 to 30 stars a night, at least that's what it felt like, until I got like super lucky and more stars would spawn in. To pass the time, on day 34, I created a sky platform that all the stars on the right side of the world would land on, so that way I didn't have to spend as much time navigating trickier terrain down below. I wondered how far down I could go into the dungeon before dying, so I took a trip that way. Since this was a For the Worthy Seed world, many things were changed. For all I knew, there was no dungeon guardian even on this world. So I flew down in the dungeon, going further and further, and as I did, I was starting to think, dang, maybe there really isn't a dungeon guardian. I even found a chest down there that when I opened it, had a golden key in it. A few more blocks downward, and... yeah, so apparently there is a dungeon guardian. Although, I did have a golden key now that I could use on one of the chests on the floating islands I had previously found. Since they were locked, maybe I would be able to get a cobalt shield out of them now. I used the golden key to end up finding a Star Fury that was not better than what I was currently running, so no luck on that cobalt shield. Day 35, I began construction on a Plantera arena just to the right of the jungle temple and south of my life fruit farm. This way, everything I needed in the late game jungle was all in one spot. On day 37, I decided to fight the King Slime. This would be my first fight with the King, and I was not doing it for any of his drops. I wanted to fight him so that way if I won, the following night would be a Lantern Night, which is when you see the glowing lanterns in the background at night, which increases the chances of fallen stars. I prepared my potions in King Slime spawner, went to the arena above my base, and summoned the Great Squish. And this guy is huge! See you later. All you guys. Aha! A first try victory. I was quite pleased to see that, although it was expected since the King Slime is arguably the easiest boss in the game. The following night was in fact a Lantern Night, although I scavenged the lands and it didn't seem like the drop rates of fallen stars were any different. Following the same idea of Lantern Nights, I thought that I would now fight the Queen Bee in my Plantera arena. The space was big enough, and if I won, then I could use another Lantern Night, which of course would be beneficial, or so I thought. So, on day 38, I gathered together my potions and went to the underground jungle to find a beehive that I could use to spawn in the Queen Bee. There's no spawner in here? I'm stuck on this. that's a hard fight. This mini shark sucks. Yeah, so the queen is much, much faster than I could have anticipated. Every time I go into a new boss fight on this world, I never know what to expect when it comes to changes they have made to boss mechanics. This was a fight that I was not sure I wanted to or even needed to win after this one battle, so I stopped putting my energy towards it and refocused back on my endeavors with Skeletron. Every night thus far, I have been collecting fallen stars, but progressing my world for hard mode during the daytime. I spent days 40 through 42 creating a runway in the underworld for the wall flush fight that I assumed would happen at some point within these 100 days. Days 44 and 45, I fished during the daytime to get some higher tier fish that I could use to craft better potions that would allow me to survive longer and do more damage. Then, at this point, I really wasn't fully certain of what else I wanted to build or prepare for in terms of hard mode, because mining was slow with my gear and I really just wanted to kill Skeletron. Since 200 to 300 stars wasn't enough the first time around, I was aiming for 600 to 700 for the second battle. Days 46 through 50, I spent the daytime sleeping in a bed in my base to fast forward time to night, so that way I could collect stars more quickly, and then I could go on to fight Skeletron. Let's do a quick 50-day recap. At this point, I've spent 50 days in Terraria's hardest difficulty for the Worthy Master mode, and thus far it has lived up to the name. It was hard. In my first 50 days, I managed to kill the Eye of Cthulhu, the Brain of Cthulhu, and the King Slime. I racked up countless deaths from both the Brain and Skeletron, as well as just about any mob in the game due to their amount of health and damage output. I think part of the reason I had only killed so few bosses up to this point was partially because coming into this playthrough I had absolutely no knowledge of the obstacles to come in the form of changes to mechanics. Also, having to wait until the nighttime and have RNG decide how many stars I collected also was a very time-consuming process. It meant that just to be ready for a fight with Skeletron, I had to farm for hours upon hours to be at a viable point to win. Regardless of the events thus far, I was enjoying the challenge that this version of the game gave me. It was frustrating, don't get me wrong, but it was cool to challenge my skills and knowledge of the game. If you're wondering if I will ever get over the hurdle of Skeletron, and just how much I will be able to do in the following 50 days, rest assured, I do begin to make progress in the game at a much faster pace soon enough, so stay tuned because there's a lot more Terraria to come. Also, if you made it this far, I appreciate you watching and hope that it's living up to your expectations. The dawn of day 51 finally arrived, and I am now in the back half of this playthrough. I had collected what I deemed to be enough stars to win a fight against Skeletron, and I had to win this next fight. If I didn't win this next fight, I would lose hours of work from collecting stars, and I just couldn't let that happen. I prepared everything I possibly could for a fight with Skeletron this night. I had everything I needed. I made my way west to the dungeon where I would take what I hoped would be the last crack at lifting the Clothier's curse. Well, baby, let's go. Get up there. Alright, Dryad. Let's go. I got 200 stars. Come on, let's go right here. Yes! Let's go! Oh man. Oh man. Let's go. Oh my heavens, people, I finally freaking did it. That was the biggest hurdle I think I've ever faced in Terraria, believe it or not. I died so many times, but man, it felt good to put that skull in the dirt. With Skeletron dead and the Cothier's curse lifted, I could finally descend into the depths of the dungeon in search of a Miramasa and Cobalt Shield. Very shortly after entering, I found myself a Cobalt Shield and one of the very first few chests. On day 52, I used a shadow key that I got from the dungeon chest to open some locked obsidian boxes that I had. I got a Hellwing bow, which was going to be coming in handy for the Wall of Flesh. Also, I had found the Miramasa in the dungeon, so I put all of my swords together to craft the Knight's Edge and actually use it. That is not something that happens often for me, so I was down. Days 53 and 54 were spent expanding the underworld runway and opening shadow chests for loot and potions. I continued mining hellstones so that way I could craft hellfire arrows to use in a fight against the Wall of Flesh. During day 54, I felt pretty prepared to take on the Wall of Flesh. This wouldn't be the first time I have done this in this playthrough, since I accidentally spawned him in a few times before. Since there are only voodoo demons instead of regular demons, that meant that every single time I killed one, it dropped a guide voodoo doll, which sounds nice, until you have to kill one over lava, or just after killing a lava slime, which would then make the Wall of Flesh spawn, and you can't teleport out because if you teleport out for the Worthy Seed, it actually kills you. Anyways, I prepared all my potions, had my Crimson Armor that I still deem to be the best for this run, my Mini Shark, and Star Cannon as backup ready to go for a true fight against the Wall of Flesh. I descended into the underworld where I would cast away one of my dearest friends, the Guide, by throwing his voodoo doll into the lava to summon the Great Wall of Flesh, as I took my chances in a fight to the death in strive of reaching hard mode. Let's do it, baby! Wall of Flesh! Show me what you've got! I hope 2,500 Hellfire Arrows is enough. Got 16,000 HP, that's me 8,000 and a half. Get that away. Shredding. This boy is shredding. Come on, baby! Yes! Let's go! Let's go! Oh my god. What a victory that was. That was so much easier than the Brain of Cthulhu and Skeletron. Those two early game bosses were such a struggle for me, but the Wall of Flesh just wasn't. Having the Star Cannon as backup for the end of the fight, when the wall gained massive speed, was definitely the reason I won this fight. the Star Cannon was proving to be a really good weapon that I would seriously consider using again in future playthroughs. With the Wall of Flesh defeated, I was now officially in hard mode. On day 55, I took the Pwn Hammer dropped by the wall and used it to smash the altars in the Underground Crimson. In doing so, my road was blessed with Palladium, Orichalcum, and Titanium, which are all three of the alternative hard mode ores. The next few days were spent using Splunker Potions to mine the newly added ores underground. My intention was to get a Palladium pick, then the Orichalcum pick, then make Titanium armor. I didn't want to waste time crafting lower tier armors if I could avoid it. This process was definitely tricky because while finding the ores wasn't that hard, staying alive was. Now the amount of enemies, in particular deadly enemies, was much more evident than before, so I died a lot. Day 56, I added hollowed blocks to my item farm, that way enemies would begin dropping Souls of Light. Days 57 through 59, I farmed Spider Fangs to craft better summoning gear in the form of the Spider Staff and the Queen Spider Staff. Also, my mining for better gear was still going as well. Come day 60, I was wanting more mobility. The next item I would require to greatly increase my mobility and thus chances of survival was a pair of wings. So I took to the skies to build a small wyvern arena that I could use to farm Souls of Flight. I killed the wyvern a few times, gaining enough Souls of Flight to craft a pair of wings with the giant harpy feather that I had previously obtained. On day 61, I expanded the arena at base as I would need more space to fight the bosses to come. I was feeling pretty good about my loadout thus far, so I prepared potions, farmed some Souls of Night, and crafted a destroyer spawner that I would use to take my first chances at beating the mechanical worm. Alright, let's give this a test run. Yeah, he is definitely bigger. The 200,000 HP? Dude, he's so big! Holy crap! That's a big man right there. Oh, I'm fucking dead, yo. There's no way I survived that. They're all so big. No, I wanted to get to those hearts. Okay. Yeah, that didn't go so well. I very quickly could tell that I was still going to need better gear to win this battle, especially with the fact that the destroyer was larger than usual. So, on day 62, I went to my item farm to not only farm money and souls, but to wait for hallowed mimics to spawn that I would fight below the farm to hopefully get a dataless storm bow to drop. This bow is incredibly useful against the destroyer as it rains down hellfire from the sky. My item farm was much more efficient than in pre-hard mode and netted me more money and items overall. It was a really easy way to obtain items such as the Cross Necklace, Philosopher's Stone, and Magic Quiver, which were all huge upgrades to my loadout. Oh, also, I spawned in the twins just to see what they were like so I would have an idea, and let's see how that went. Damn, yo, they are fast! Oh my god, that stupid rope. Wow. Okay. Yeah, so they're super small and pretty darn quick. I knew I wouldn't win, but I got some valuable intel that I would use for when I did a real fight against them. On this night, I also replaced the spawning platform at my item farm with hollow blocks, so that way Chaos Elementals would spawn, which would have a chance of dropping a Rod of Discord, which would be an absolute godsend of a gift to my loadout if I got it. Day 63, I bought a dog license because why not? Dogs are cool, but they're not as cool as cats. On day 64, I had to create my own hollowed biome because for whatever reason, there was next to none of it on my overworld. So, I made several long platforms and used hollowed seeds that I purchased from the Dryad to make my own artificial biome of sorts. I did this because I wanted to farm pixie dust from pixies and unicorn horns from unicorns that I would use to craft holy arrows, which would be vital in my battles against the Destroyer in the near future. Day 65 came and I had most of what I needed to fight the Destroyer. I got myself prepped, took a boss spawner up to my arena, and held it to the night sky as I took my chances against this Mega Man of a worm. Pop this red potion. Oh my heavens. Turn off for the phone. I'm stuck. I'm stuck. This is the heart right there. Oh, I think I missed the heart. Come on, miss me. You missed me. Ah! Alright, I can still try it again. 100%. Yep, that's another L. Just like with the twins, I spawned in Skeletron Prime just so that I could gain intel on how his mechanics worked and how big or small he was. Wow, what the... And he destroys all your platforms, and he destroys your... Oh my god! He destroys your house! Okay, so that fight was massively unsuccessful, but I did find out that Skeletron Prime can destroy blocks, in which case he was destroying my arena in the area just above my base. I was going to need to make an arena elsewhere specifically for this boss. Also, I added crimson blocks to the item farm, so now I had both enemies of light and dark spawning on either side to maximize the variety of loot that I could obtain. Days 66 and 67 were spent making several attempts at defeating the destroyer. Fail after fail after fail, I was losing but gaining valuable experience as to how to triumph over this boss. Unfortunately for me, since this world was a Crimson world, that limited my potion selection, and so I could not craft potions like the Thorns potion, as the materials required weren't able to be obtained in this world. Thus, I went to the Underworld to farm some potions from the pots and chests there. On night 67, I was fully geared and ready to take on the Destroyer one more time now, with added experience from my past losses. Surely that would come into play soon enough. Wyvern right now. Oh, I had another potion just in case for a little bit of emergency. Why is the Wyvern here? It's way too high. Don't hit me, man. Don't ruin this for me. Don't ruin this for me. Don't ruin this for me, bro. Oh, alright. At least I killed him. Oh my god, at least I killed him. Yo, that was such a scheme. But at least I killed him. That was like by the second. Wow. By the skin of my teeth, I was able to clout a victory this time around. That Wyvern really had it out for me, and I was so happy that I could squeak out a win before dying to it. I mean, seriously, that was as close as it gets for me. On day 69, I took a trip to the jungle to find out that life fruits had started spawning since I defeated my first mechanical boss. This was huge news because I could now increase my max HP from 400 to 500, which was no doubt useful. I spent days 69 to 74 mostly in the underground jungle searching for life fruits to maximize my HP. Occasionally, I would go elsewhere to do other tasks while I waited for more fruits to spawn in. For instance, on day 70, I caught a truffle worm in the underground glowing mushroom biome, which would be useful as it was a spawner for Duke Fishron. Also, I was fishing in the underground hollow biome during a blood moon when this happened. Chaos fish. Oh shit! Oh no! Dude, I just yelled so loud, my neighbor's probably so salty. Yo, what is that? What? What is... What? I've never seen that before. Never in my life of all my years playing Terraria have I seen that. That actually scared me. Why did I get scared twice in a row? On day 71, the pirates invaded my land, and I defeated them, once again with the help of my lava pits. Those pits were so useful even now in hard mode. I was fortunate because I got a pirate staff to drop from the invasion, which was better than my spider staff, so I was able to replace it. On day 74, I maxed out my HP and returned to my item farm once again to gather money. While waiting for money to drop, I was sent a gift from the Terraria gods. Rod of Discord! I saw it! Yes! Oh, oh baby, that is gonna be so nice. A Rod of Discord dropped for me, which I knew was gonna be a massive upgrade to my loadout. Being able to teleport through walls and away from danger in a matter of seconds' notice would prove to be useful time and again. With my newly maxed HP and Rod of Discord, I was feeling better than ever when it came to my chances of victory over the Destroyer. Yes, I had already defeated him once before, but I wanted to do it a few more times so that I could collect up some hollowed bars that I could use to craft hollowed armor and tools. Days 77 to 79, I spent doing some remodeling of my base, making it larger and adding a very long lava trap to it. Days 80 and 81, I spent by converting my skybridge into conveyor belts that would transfer stars to me. I went to the ocean to farm sharks for shark fins that I could use to craft a mega shark given the souls of might dropped by the Destroyer. The mega shark was my next goal because it was going to be the weapon of choice for a fight with the twins. I crafted and reforged a mega shark on day 81 that I was going to use that night to fight the twins. I did what I always do, preparing my potions and loadout for the big fight. I took my new gear, went to my arena, and held the mechanical eye up to the sky for what was sure to be a good battle. Mechanical eye. Buffs. We are a go. on, baby. Come on. Yes! Let's go. But would you look at that? My first real fight with the twins, and it was a success. Having the Mega Shark and Rod of Discord was no doubt vital in my road to victory over those flying eyes. The twins battle is always one of my favorite fights in Terraria, and I think it's simply due to the variety of attacks they use, and due to the fact that you have to be extremely mobile to win it. Soaring through the sky in aerial battle is just so much fun. Using the Souls of Sight I got from the twins, I crafted an optic staff that would replace my pirate staff. On day 82, I was preparing for a fight with Skeletron Prime. I must admit that the day in real life that I was playing this day 82 in Terraria, I happened to be scrolling on the Terraria Reddit and accidentally spoiled to myself that dungeon bricks were immune to the bombs used by Skeletron Prime. With this newfound knowledge that I mistakenly came across, I went to the dungeon to mine blocks to use to build an arena. Firstly, I created a boxed arena as I wasn't sure what kind of arena I would need to fight this armored skull. Within a few minutes after finishing up this arena, I prepared myself for a fight with Skeletron Prime. Come on, Skeletron, let's see what you got. Damn. He's a hard one. Alright, it was clear that the arena shape I chose was not going to work. I created a separate arena elsewhere that was longer and incorporated honey pits for life regeneration in it. I made a few platforms just above the arena that I could also use if need be. With my new arena made, I once again attempted a fight with Skelly P. Damn it, man, I shouldn't have grabbed the bat statue. That's literally what killed me. Well, I lost that one too, but I was pretty darn close, so that meant I was on the right track for defeating this boss. On day 84, I regained and got the notification later that evening that the air was getting colder around me. This meant that Skeletron Prime was going to be summoned automatically in just a few minutes. I quickly prepared myself for a sudden fight and went to the arena to wait for him to show up. Skeletron Prime, where's he though? God. I didn't even need to waste the cards. I don't even care about any of the ones. He has the trap. See you later, baby. The jungle grows restless, and that is fine. By the luck of the draw, I was ready to go, and that was enough to make me victorious over the final mechanical boss, Skeletron Prime. All three mech bosses having been defeated, the jungle was starting to blossom with Plantera bulbs. Plantera was now the next boss up on my chopping block. Using the Souls of Might, Sight, and Fright from all three mechanical bosses, I crafted a pickaxe axe that I would now use to mine chlorophyte in the underground jungle. I spent day 85 using Smunker potions in the underground jungle, collecting a mass amount of chlorophyte, which would be used to craft tools and armor, most of which would go unused. On day 85, I transferred my honey and statues to the Plantera arena I built in pre-hard mode, as I was now gearing up to face the blossoming plant boss. This night, I felt ready to take a test fight against Plantera. I gathered all that I thought I would need and took to the jungle to smash the Plantera bulb and bring that feisty woman to life. Yeah, my Mega Shark goes in. Oh! Okay. That was hard. After taking another L to Plantera, I thought that making a Super Star Shooter, which is an upgrade of the Star Cannon, would be a good idea since it was so effective against Skeletron and the Wall of Flesh. On day 87, I went to fight Plantera once again with this new weapon in hand. So the Superstar Shooter really didn't work as well as I was hoping. Well, the Superstar Shooter proved to be pretty ineffective in comparison to other weapons I could be using, and including the fact that the ammo was really hard to get for it, I just scrapped the idea. Fortunately, during my time in the jungle farming for life fruits, I had obtained 2 turtle shells from killing giant tortoises. On day 87, I got the last one I needed to craft a full set of turtle armor. I went back to my base, crafted the set, and felt really good about my chances of winning now. This armor would drastically increase my defense stat, reduce incoming damage, and increase damage against attackers. It was pretty much everything I could ask for at this point. That night and on day 88, I fought Plantera a few more times and died again and again. Something wasn't working and I just wasn't sure what it was. So, on day 89, I began getting rid of the background walls in the Plantera arena, so that way during phase 2 of the fight, Plantera would have less options to grapple onto. After making some progress doing this, I fought Plantera again. Damn it, man. That didn't seem to help much either. So, on days 90 to 92, I collected crystals to craft crystal bullets and expanded my Plantera arena, nearly doubling the length. I replaced all the regular torches with jungle torches to increase my luck as well. On day 92, I took to the arena and took on Plantera one more time, given my new additions to my loadout and battle place. like this. Yes! Gosh, that was close, bro. I mean, I had like 250 HP, but dude, all it takes is one hit and you're dead. Let's go. Frickin' go. After defeating Terraria, I took the temple key to the temple to explore inside, finding my way to the bottom. I made a small arena on the inside to fight the golem from. I summoned the golem to again test his mechanics and size. He's really tiny, what the heck? He was incredibly tiny and it was actually kind of funny. Anyways, I spent days 93 to 96 in the post-Terraria dungeon farming the enemies in there for ectoplasm for Spectre armor, as well as any accessories and weapons they were willing to drop. For the worthy post-Terraria dungeon was absolutely riddled with Diabolists, which proved to be so annoying. Those guys, on top of everyone else, and the fact that I was wearing turtle armor, which increased mob aggression towards me, meant that I died a ton down there trying to farm for loot. On day 97, I equipped a mage loadout with slightly different accessories, Spectre armor, and a variety of mage weaponry. I tried fighting the golem with the magical harp, an inferno fork, a shadow beam staff, and more. I died every single time. On day 98, I went back to the post-Terraria dungeon to open up biome chests with the biome keys I had obtained earlier in the game. To my disappointment, the chests did not have their special items in them. Another change to the further worthy version, I suppose. Day 99, I put my turtle armor back on and reacquired my range setup, as that was the most successful thus far against the golem. Also on this day, I made a small arena for Duke Fishron to test his abilities. Let's watch how that panned out. Okay, well, I got trashed on. Yeah, I definitely was not going to be ready for this fight until after the golem and after killing a few of the Moonlord's pillars. Finally, we arrived at day 100 in this playthrough, and I knew my time was coming to a close for this challenge. I spent my last day talking to the dye trader, exchanging strange plants for new dyes I could outfit my armor with. Also, I still hadn't killed the queen bee yet, so I went back to the underground jungle and looked all over for another hive. Surprisingly, I had only found one hive at the beginning of the game, and absolutely none in the days to follow, which never happens to me, so that was pretty odd. I wasn't ready! I trapped myself in here, oh no, I'm dead, dude. After defeating the queen bee when she was suddenly spawned upon me, I made some final preparations for attempts at the golem before the day was concluded. Just like before, I died, but the range setup proved to get me further than any setup I have tried thus far. The unfortunate part is that I know exactly what I can do to better my odds of victory. I simply ran out of time. So there you have it, folks. I just spent 100 days in Terraria's hardest difficulty for the worthy master mode, and let me tell you, it lives up to the name. It is most definitely a harder version of the game. At times, I would even go on to say that it was tedious to play. Dying again and again and again to the simplest of things got a bit tiring. Waiting day after day to collect fallen stars at night eventually got old. However, the satisfaction of defeating a boss and moving on to the next was more pleasurable than in any other playthrough I have played in recent years. For that reason, and the sheer challenge alone that this version of the game provided, I'm happy to say that I tried, and happy to say that I don't have to go back. With all that being said, I really hope that you all enjoyed the video I've put together here for you, and if you did, I would greatly appreciate it if you dropped a like and subscribed for more content, because I've still got loads of more videos on the way. Thanks for watching, everyone. It means a lot to me. I'll see you all in the next video.